everyone, and welcome back to another movie of the week. And the movie of this week was Spider-Man No Way Home from 2021. So if you haven't watched it, watch it now. If you're new here, I'm doing like a movie every week, and I'm doing like franchises and reboots and sequels and stuff for those elements in 2024. So we actually first did Spider-Man from 2002, The Amazing Spider-Man from 2012, and Spider-Man Homecoming from 2017, and now we're doing Spider-Man No Way Home from 2021. So if you haven't watched those movies yet in those videos, please watch them first. Okay, let's get into it. So obviously I picked like the first Tobey Maguire movie, the first Andrew Garfield movie, and the first Tom Holland movie, and then I chose this one because it has all three. So there's like a purpose between that, and we talked about in the other videos how Andrew Garfield's and Tobey Maguire's, there's a lot of similarities between them. You know, you can easily compare what's different, what's the same, but no. But Tom Holland's first movie is very different than the both of them because it's not the first time we see him in a movie, I guess, because he was in Civil War, but we never really got like a backstory to him. But this movie also, so that one felt very, very different, and then this movie also is very different because we didn't watch the second or third movies of Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, but this one also, it has, you know, it's a completely different world, and I took notes, and like we're gonna get into it. So this I know, I think I talked about in my last video that I feel like each Spider-Man gets more and more funny, and so Tom Holland's Spider-Man, like the first movie's super funny, and this one, even though it's very intense and everything, it's also super funny. I also want to point out one thing before I get too much into this movie. So I saw this in theaters, obviously No Way Home, and I was so blown away, and like the theater experience of seeing this movie is actually insane, and we'll talk about it a little bit more later. But I actually then, I think like a week later, went back and rewatched this in the theater. Like, I think this is the only time ever in my life that I saw a movie twice when it was in the theaters. Like, I don't think, maybe when I was young, like I don't even know, like I can't pinpoint another movie that I did that for. There's some movies that I've like thought about it, but like this one I actually did it. It's like actually insane because anyway, seeing this in the theater, like it's an experience. When you're watching this at home, it doesn't hit as well, especially if you know what's gonna happen. I feel like maybe you're watching it at home and you don't know what's gonna happen, maybe it still hits. But you know, when you're in the theater and you don't know what happens, like you've seen the rumors, blah blah blah, but like when you see it, it's so impeccable. So it kind of takes off right after the last movie ended, where Mysterio reveals his identity. And I'm pretty sure this is not in Andrew Garfield or Tobey Maguire's other movies, but I can't really pinpoint or recall. So it's like really fast paced, like all of a sudden we're in it, like everyone knows who he is. Like there's no, you know, warming up to it. It's right away, we're right into it. So they're submitting to college admissions, or they're submitting to college. They're doing college admissions, and obviously I felt that because I had this similar experience in your year, but it's something where it's like nowadays, you apply to colleges online. You find out that you got into a college from online. Like they usually do then send you like a packet like afterwards, but you will see the results online. So it's like so fake that they like got a thing in the mail and didn't find out online. But I understand for visual reasons that it needed to be in the mail because they all opened it together. But it's just like, I'm someone who's so logical that like things like that upset me. So Daredevil's in this movie, and when, you know, I remember seeing that in theaters, and I was like, it's Daredevil, and he had some funny good lines like I'm a really good lawyer or whatever. Also, it's like super funny when they're, you know, being questioned by the police, and MJ and his Aunt May are like, don't say anything, and then like Ned reveals everything there. It's just like funny. Like they're able to do funny things, funny moments when it's intense and scary. So Doctor Strange is in this movie, and he's, I feel like, the other Marvel character that's the most prevalent in this movie. And so he's like a big deal in this movie. I also want to pinpoint this is after the blip, right? In the Marvel universe. Like I'm pretty sure, yeah. And so they were talking about it. So it's like interesting how like all these characters like blipped. So it was like Peter Parker, MJ, Ned, and that girl at school that I'm forgetting her name, who like literally only had like a couple scenes. And May, right? Yeah. So then he's trying to have Doctor Strange do the spell, And because he keeps like altering the spell goes wrong. And it's actually something where it's like, whoever came up with this idea in the Marvel writing room, like, sir, ma'am, like, yes, because this is like such a great idea. Like the idea of this movie is just so great and so wonderful, and there's so many, not just like the writing of it, but like all the characters and everything like had to come in place. It had to work, and they were able to make it work. But just like whoever came up with the idea, like, I don't know, people were at first were like, you're crazy, like, why would you do this? But it makes perfect sense, because as I talk about other movies, we've had so many different Spider-Mans so close together, so it kind of makes sense. And especially because in the Marvel universe they have, like, you know, different dimensions, so it's like it makes sense that like there'd be other Spider-Mans. Like, the idea is so good, and if you have no idea what I'm talking about, like, you clearly didn't watch the movie, or maybe you're confused. But yeah, to have like a spell go wrong, so then people who know like Spider-Man and Peter Parker would like come to them, and then he's like fight off all these people, and they literally got all the villains, not just Tommy and Andrew. They literally got like literally every single villain to be in it. It's like crazy. That's why when I saw it in theaters, No Way Home, I went home and I rewatched all Tobey Maguire's movies, all Andrew Garfield's movies, and the Tom Holland movies, and then I watched this again. That's what I did. I remember, like, in the trailers, they showed the villains, but they didn't show the other Spider-Mans. Like, they were trying to keep that contained. I feel like there's been rumors, like, people knew about it. Obviously, the reveal was so great, but some people obviously didn't know about the rumors. But I think they had to have some of the villains in the trailers just to, like, get people wanting to see it, because you know, it's kind of two different reveals, like just the villains, or, you know, the villains and the Spider-Mans. And obviously keeping the Spider-Mans, like, you know, that's contained secrets, but they need something to like make people want to go see in the theater. So like revealing the villains in the trailers do make sense, but of course people like me or whoever kind of jumps to the conclusion that there's a good chance other Spider-Mans are gonna be in it. So yeah, but yeah, the villains coming is just so great, so amazing. Willem Dafoe, like, I mean, we'll talk a little bit more about it later, but he's like the biggest villain in this, which is crazy. And like he's so amazing in this too, because he was like the first one for Tobey Maguire, so it's kind of crazy, and what he was able to do. And it's also kind of interesting because I don't know, and it is a special effects or whatever, the elements weren't that good in the 2000s, even like, you know, 10 years earlier. You're seeing these villains and they have these elements to them that like the quality looks better. Maybe that's what it is. So Doctor Strange wants to send them back, and that's what they're gonna do, but Aunt May kind of convinces Tom Holland to save them, which in the end it doesn't make sense, because like, yeah, you're fixing them, but then they're still going back and dying anyway, so it just doesn't make sense. But I think it's because if they just send them back right away, like there wouldn't be more of the movie. But I just still hate when characters are like, save them, like it's so dumb, because guess who dies? So then he like fights Doctor Strange to try to save the box, and it's kind of strange to like, in this other mirror or whatever, Doctor Strange is like, I control this. Like, if you control it, like, why aren't you getting the box? And it kind of reminds me of that game I used to play on my phone when I was a kid, where it's like you're like a ball or something. I don't know what the game was, and you're like smashing things, and it's like this cool universe. Like, it kind of looks like that. Something I wrote down is Spidey sense is strong. In this movie is strong. But yeah, of course, when they're saving them, they all turn on them. Of course that's gonna happen. So Aunt May dies, and it's a really dramatic and sad way, and it's like, why does this have to happen? Because, you know, there's not even like talks of Uncle Ben, or we never even seen him die. Like, I talked about that in my last video about Spider-Man, and it's something that then when he met Tommy and Andrew, they're saying like, my Uncle Ben died. Like, it's a part of the journey. So it's like part of his hero's journey that his aunt dies. Like, really, like, I always hate that. Like, why do they have to die so you could be a hero? Why? Of course, also when like Aunt May dies, like the scene afterwards, it's so cinematic with like the lighting. Also, something I wrote down is J.K. Simmons. He's in this one, but he's also like in Tobey Maguire's universe, like playing two different characters. And so I can't remember, like I don't think he was in Homecoming, but I can't remember, or maybe he was. I can't remember who was in the one before. So maybe they just brought him back because it's like, oh, it's funny and whatever, but I can't remember. I can't recall. So the scene when Tommy and Andrew come is so iconic when it's like Ned is trying to do that and then you see the Spider-Man. And I was like, oh my God, this is how they come. And so when you're in the theater and the audience, and then he takes off the mask, everyone's like shouting. Everyone's like so happy and shouting, and it's so great. And then Tobey Maguire comes and it's like and it's like when you're just watching the scene at home, when you already know what happens, it's like, okay, there's like these weird like empty pauses where it's like this energy is a little bit weird, but that's because if you were seeing this for the first time, you'd be like freaking out that it like feels right, but it feels a little bit weird watching it at home. But it's like, I remember that feeling in the theater of seeing that. Like that's a feeling I don't know if I'll ever get again. It's like I'm going crazy right now just like recalling that feeling of seeing it in the theater. So of course the last fight is at the Statue of Liberty with scaffolding. I don't even know if that's what the Statue of Liberty looks like up close. It probably doesn't. MJ is falling and Tom Holland tries to save her, but she can't. And then Andrew Garfield saves her like he couldn't save Gwen. And like that's the theater was freaking out too. They're like, ah! Also, when they're fighting the three Spider-Mans at once, I can't tell who's who. I like know there's a little bit differences between their suits, but like I just like can't tell. So of course at the end when he's fighting Norman, all of a sudden it's daylight. So that means it was like in the night today, and I would be so tired. Like so when Norman stabs Toby, I gasped. Even though I've seen this my third time, but it's still like, it just still so shocking. So I'm sure like I gasped probably like my first time seeing this too. So new spell was created where people just don't even know who Peter Parker is. So like no one knows who he is, and he's like super alone, and it's really sad. I mean, it's something where it's like, is there gonna be another movie? Like I don't even know. I mean, 3 movies make sense, but I don't know if they're ever going to do another movie. Like I just really, Marvel, I don't even know what's happening with Marvel nowadays. I really don't know. But those were all my notes. I would say like, I don't know, like I still wish we got to see more of like the origin and backstory of Tom Holland's Spider-Man. We were able to see them, but like having this movie, whoever decided to make this movie, it was amazing. It was perfect. It was the right thing to do. It's what we needed in the world. 2021, right after the pandemic, it's what we needed in this world. And the feeling of seeing this in theaters is so strong. That's why I saw it again. And that's like what you kind of want in movies, is you want people to feel like they have to see it again. Like that's why Tenet, you're like, I have to watch this a million times because I don't understand it. Obviously I understand this movie, but like some things just were so great and so strong. And so there's really not much to critique other than the things I've already talked about. And so this video is already long, so I'm not going to go into much further, but you know, calm down your thoughts. Like there's probably so much to say overall about Spider-Man, but I'm glad we discussed and talked and analyzed and whatever about all these different Spider-Mans, because there's so much to talk about. They're the superhero I picked to do for movie of the week. So then next week we're actually doing Open Your Eyes from 1997, and then after that we'll do Vanilla Sky. So comment your thoughts about Spider-Man and watch Open Your Eyes for next week. Thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and bye.